I think Amazon should be
Amazon is tied
taken
in
over.
with the
Like,
government, though, on some pretty deep levels.
just give Amazon everything.
Well, maybe that is what's happening.
That's the answer, you
Well,
know?
but maybe
Just,
that's what's happening.
yeah, the guys who deliver, like the people who are delivering Amazon and stuff like that, like it's perfect. You know, it's kind of like Uber Eats, you know? It's
They're
like
gonna have
just
to get chips soon. The guys
dropping
that
it
are
off.
delivering
It's
before.
like, hey,
Actually, no, they won't.
how are you?
They
Sometimes it's
won't.
like people I know and they text me and they're like, hey, TK, I got a package for you and I'm going to drop it off. Like, are you home? That's literally the service I've been getting lately sometimes. Hey?
I
Well,
feel like there's a guy
unfortunately,
at my door like every 10 minutes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
well, unfortunately, it's taken away from the private mom and pops businesses, and that's destroying. And I don't mind that, and I don't mind that competition. But what bothers me is I have 2,000 items in my store that you can't find at Walmart or anywhere else. You have to go online. So a lot of people come in and use my store as a catalog, take photos, and then go buy on eBay or Amazon after they realize its existence.
You got to tell them to put their cell phones in the basket before they are allowed in the store.
Yeah. So people come in, take photos, and then they just go buy it online. But they didn't know the existence of a product. Do you know 2,000 board games off the top of your head?
No.
So people come in, I give them suggestions on what they've played already. And then what they've played, I could kind of look at what they might like. And then they just take a picture and then they just go buy it online. And I don't get no percentage from Amazon from that because I made that sale for them, because without me showing them this product, they wouldn't have made the sale.
I think that's probably just part of that type of retail setup, is that you will be competing with Amazon at any day of the week, and that, you know, your only real reality is to try to bring more people into your store so that the people who want it right now, well, they'll have to buy it off you.
Well,
they'll have no choice because they're already there.
Yeah, or you have to realize that like you're up against Goliath, and maybe you just, you know, I'm not saying you in particular, like
those issues. Yeah.
People that go into like mom and pop retail now are either extraordinarily brave or crazy, because the cards are so stacked against you right now that like a physical retail store is almost impossible to start right now. Like rents alone, like can you imagine, like I don't know what rents are like where you are, but like to have a board game store in Toronto, how many board games you would have to sell just to pay rent, let alone like insurance and gas and hydro and people and internet, and you know, like how the fuck do any of these businesses survive?
Exactly, any of them. So I got a place in the beaches for sale, and the rent and the business and like you look at it and you're just like, man, like you got to really believe in those hamburgers you're selling. You know what I mean? Like you got to really, really, really feel like what you're doing is special, because it's tough. Every month is going to be tough.
Meanwhile, they pop up every 10 seconds. There's a smash burger this or a burger this or a burger that. And it's like, don't they know? Don't they know like that eventually they're just fucking dead? Because they can't. You can't. It's like, is somebody ever gonna open up? Like, was Rona ever gonna beat Home Depot? Like, Rona's just gonna disappear at some point, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like,
there's a big transaction. Lowe's bought Rona,
or Lowe's or whatever.
Lowe's just sold Rona to an investment company, something like that.
But then I guess all of a sudden you get like a Chat GPT that might overtake Google. So, right? Like all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, there's a better Home Depot, or there's a right mom and pop retail. There's a way to make it work. I mean, I got to think that a small little store that's very cheap with a big internet presence and like maybe a decent little warehouse behind it is a good formula for retail now.
I think there's downward pressure on rents though in retail.
But how really?
Right?
But
I think there's got to be. There's a lot of vacancies. A lot of the buildings that I'm looking at that have commercial units in them are trading a lot higher cap rates. They're much harder to sell. There's a lot of vacancies. One building I just sold, they converted 2 of the 3 commercial units to residential because they just couldn't keep tenants in there. So there is downward pressure, I think, on retail.
Yeah, retail is gonna be a retail. If you guys were gonna ask me about predictions or what I feel,
tell us.
At the end of the show, I would have said we're gonna see it's called the retail apocalypse, and we're seeing it now. It's fracturing in lots of major cities in the United States, where they're either being robbed to death by, or violence, or what's happening is getting taxed to death. In Canada, I see more of the taxation and rents going up and the cost of operating a business be prohibitively expensive, private sector. And yes, retail apocalypse is massive. I think it's going to be massive.
We've been hearing retail apocalypse for a few years, I think.
We have. Yes, we have.
And so what is the retail? What do you see as happening for this? Like, what is the retail apocalypse?
It's already happening in some parts already, and I'm getting reports from all over, from Alberta, from Manitoba. Empty malls are starting. It starts with the empty mall syndrome. Empty mall syndrome starts. Once that starts to take off and people stop going to malls, they don't go to strip malls as much anymore either, because the attraction's at the mall, right? The water fountain, the homeless guy by the telephone asking for change. It's kind of like a routine at the mall, the shoe store, the this, the that, and everybody's so excited. But when malls turn empty and the attraction is gone, yeah, there's a guy on YouTube that has a channel where all he does is just show empty malls across America, thousands of them.
Yeah,
the guy that's pretending like he's in the future.
Not that one. I know what you're talking about. No,
every mall in Toronto has got proposal for condos. Yeah, every one of them, because
they need to offset with condos.
They're sitting on this amazing land, and all of them have retail worked into it. But I imagine if you calculated the gross leasable square footage of the existing mall and what's going to be leased out afterwards in this new development, it would be like a quarter.
Quarter of the retail?
Yeah.
Oh, I would imagine that there'd probably be similar amount of retail, but a whole bunch of customers living above it.
That would make sense. But I imagine that they're looking at this as a, how do we get rid of commercial retail space? That would be my theory.
That will add to retail apocalypse too. There's lots of working, lots of moving parts here, folks.
Right? Because the times are changing too, Darryl, because this whole Amazon sort of trend here. So I think that they will be looking at those type of things, saying, do we really need, like, Amazon has got a store now in the mall just for you to go and pick up your package from, like there's no, like that, there's no need necessarily for, obviously we watched, what was the first one? My generation, the first one would have been Simpsons. That would have been the first one to go down. And then obviously you got like,
my dad used to work there. My dad used to work.
My uncle used to work there too. Yeah.
Eaton Center.
Eaton Center's still there.
But didn't they go?
You're talking about Eaton's, yeah.
Eaton's went out, yeah, but the
Eaton's went down.
Okay, no,
Sears, Zellers,
Kmart, right?
Do you remember Byway?
Bargain
Harold's. I'm friends with the guy, Bargain Harold's son.
Yeah, these were like everywhere. Like you had a store on every major intersection.
Okay, are you guys old enough to remember Towers?
No.
What's Towers? Probably old enough, but
Kresge's.
What?
Kresge's? No.
Kresge's.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Darryl's older than you, Mike. No?
Am I? How old are you, Mike?
How old are you, Mike?
I'm 45.
Oh, okay. I am older than you.
Oh, there you go.
But I don't know what the hell you're talking about, which is nothing new.
Kresge's used to always be beside the byways.
Kresge's. I mean, it sounds kind of familiar, but it isn't. So, okay, hold on a sec. How do we get back to real estate here, TK?
Let's get back to real estate.
Let's talk about the future of real estate now for the next 15 minutes to close out the show. Where do we go? What do you see based on where we are now? I mean, you got to put into your model now that they're going to just print a bunch of money, don't you?
100%.
Like, you can't leave that out anymore, right?
100%. And they're gonna flood the country with more and more immigrants to So
knowing that those two things are baked into the cake, right? Now, are we gonna put in, while we're making this cake, TK, are you ready to bake?
Yep.
I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, and I hope I don't take us on a wild tangent here, but I may. Do we have a little invasion of Taiwan in the cake?